When you look around you, what do you see? You see bridges that connect cities, power plants that light up our homes, and factories that produce the things we use every day. This is the world built by engineers, specifically mechanical engineers. We are the backbone of India's development, the ones who turn blueprints into reality, who make the colossal gears of our nation's progress turn. Every single day, countless honest engineers are working, sweating, dedicating their lives to building a stronger, more efficient India. They are the unsung heroes of our modern world, and their work is what propels us forward, making life better for millions. But what if I told you that beneath this shiny surface of progress, a deep and dangerous rot has set in? What if the very foundations of these projects, the steel beams, the complex machinery, the intricate systems, are being compromised? There is a shadow world operating behind the scenes, a world of corruption that threatens to bring it all crashing down. This isn't just about money changing hands under a table. It's a disease that weakens the very structures we depend on. It puts lives at risk. It wastes our country's precious resources, and it erodes the most important thing we have: trust. Trust in our infrastructure, trust in our systems, and trust in each other. Today, we are going to talk about something that many are afraid to even whisper. We are going to shine a light into these dark corners. As an engineer, I feel it is my duty to speak up, not to criticize for the sake of it, but to understand the problem so we can begin to solve it. We will look at the different ways this corruption manifests, from the initial purchase of a single screw to the final safety certificate. This is not just a technical discussion, it's a conversation about the soul of our profession and the future of our country. Let's begin this journey together. Aasan hai. Let's start at the very beginning of any project procurement. This is where you buy the machines, the raw materials, the nuts and bolts. It sounds simple, right? You need a pump, you buy a pump. But this is the first and often the biggest playground for corruption. Imagine a massive water treatment project, like one that was proposed in Madhya Pradesh. The goal is noble clean water for thousands of people, but the process gets twisted. Corrupt officials and greedy suppliers see this not as a public service, but as a gold mine. They will write the technical specifications in such a way that only one specific overpriced brand can even qualify for the bid. It's a classic move. They will create fake documents, elaborate justifications, to prove why this one particular German or Japanese machine is the only one that can do the job, when in reality, a dozen other, more affordable Indian-made machines could do it just as well, if not better. This isn't just about paying a little extra. The difference in cost isn't just a few thousand rupees, it can be crores. And where does that extra money go? It's funneled back as commissions, as kickbacks, into the pockets of the very people who are supposed to be safeguarding the public's money. They aren't just buying a machine, they are buying themselves a new car, a new house, a foreign vacation, all with the money that was meant for public welfare. The machine becomes a money laundering instrument, and the honest engineer who questions this, who points out that a cheaper alternative exists, they are silenced, sidelined, or labeled as not a team player. This is the first crack in the system, and it's a deep one. After procurement comes fabrication. This is where we take raw steel and weld it, shape it, and build the structures, the tanks, the pipelines, the support beams. This stage requires skill, precision, and integrity. But behind the bright light of the welding torch, a lot of fraud can happen. Think about the tragic industrial estate collapse in Gujarat. A structure that was supposed to stand for decades came down like a house of cards. Why? Because the investigation revealed that corners were systematically cut during fabrication. The steel beams that were supposed to be 10 millimeters thick were only 7 millimeters thick. That 3 millimeter difference saved the contractor a lot of money on material, but it compromised the strength of the entire building. It's a ticking time bomb. How do they get away with this? They become masters of deception. They will forge the material test reports, the documents that certify the quality and thickness of the steel. They will have fake inspection tags ready to be slapped onto substandard work right before the official inspector arrives. Sometimes, the inspector himself is part of the scam. He'll be paid to look the other way, to sign off on a report without even visiting the site. The welders and fabricators on the ground might know what's happening, but they are often daily wage laborers who are scared to lose their job. They are told to just do as they are instructed. So a structure that looks strong from the outside is weak on the inside, a disaster waiting to happen. So, the project is built, the machines are running. Now comes the long-term phase maintenance. Maintenance is supposed to be about prevention, about keeping everything running smoothly and safely for years to come. But in the world of corruption, maintenance contracts are a golden goose, an annuity scheme that pays out year after year. Let's look at the audits of many public sector undertakings. You'll find a recurring pattern. A massive budget is allocated for annual maintenance, but very little actual work gets done. It's a scam built on paperwork. The contractor will submit logs showing that engineers visited the site 20 times a month, when in reality, they came twice. They will bill for brand new spare parts, but simply clean up the old, worn-out part and put it back in the machine. This is incredibly dangerous. Imagine an old recycled bearing being put back into a high-speed turbine. It's not a matter of if it will fail, but when. The corruption happens in many ways. They will create false service logs with forged signatures. They will submit inflated bills for labor and parts that were never used. They will even collude with the internal storekeeper to report a part as replaced on paper, while the new part is stolen and sold on the black market. The company pays for the new part, the contractor gets paid for installing it, and the corrupt insiders get their cut. The only loser is the company, the public, and the safety of the workers who operate these ticking time bombs. Everyone wants to be green now. Energy efficiency is a huge focus for industries. It's good for the planet and it's supposed to save the company money. But, this has created a new sophisticated avenue for corruption. Consultants are hired to conduct energy audits to find ways to reduce power consumption. But what happens when the auditors themselves are corrupt? Take the example of a factory in Maharashtra that was promised huge savings. The auditors came in, installed their fancy equipment, and produced a beautiful report showing a potential 30% reduction in energy bills and a fantastic return on investment. The factory management was thrilled. They invested crores in the recommended upgrades. But a year later, the savings were nowhere near the promised amount. What happened? The data was cooked. The auditors manipulated the baseline readings. They took measurements during non-peak hours or temporarily switched off certain machines to show artificially high energy consumption before the project. This made the after-savings look incredible on paper. They falsified reports to make the ROI seem much faster than it was, ensuring their project gets approved. In some cases, they even create fake documentation to help the factory claim government subsidies for green initiatives that they haven't properly implemented. It's a high-tech scam that preys on the good intentions of companies trying to do the right thing. The factory is left with expensive equipment that underperforms, and the corrupt consultants walk away with a fat paycheck. Quality assurance, or QA/QC, is the final line of defense. These are the engineers whose entire job is to be the gatekeeper of quality. They are supposed to be the ones who say, "No, this is not good enough, reject it." But this gatekeeper can be bribed to leave the gate wide open. The Odisha pressure vessel incident is a chilling reminder of what can happen. A pressure vessel, which is essentially a high-pressure container, exploded, causing immense damage. The investigation found that the QA engineer had signed off on welding work that was full of defects. He had accepted materials that had failed their chemical composition tests. Why would an engineer, whose signature is a promise of safety, do this? The answer is often a simple envelope filled with cash. This betrayal of trust is systematic. Malpractices include taking bribes to pass failed inspections. QA engineers will knowingly sign faked material test reports provided by the supplier. They will look the other way when a contractor uses expired materials, like welding rods that have lost their properties, because it saves the contractor money. They might even collude to create backdated inspection reports to cover up for work that was never inspected in the first place. When the one person who is supposed to guarantee quality becomes the facilitator of poor quality, the entire system collapses. It turns engineering from a profession of precision and safety into a dangerous gamble. The tendering process is designed to be fair and transparent, to give every qualified company an equal chance to win a contract. But honestly, it's often a rigged game from the start. Let's look at something as seemingly simple as an ISO certification contract for a public sector undertaking. You would think the most competent and cost-effective certification body would get the job. But that's not how it works when corruption is involved. The tender documents are drafted with such specific and often irrelevant pre-qualification criteria that only one or two pre-selected friendly vendors can even apply. They might ask for an obscure combination of past experiences or a ridiculously high financial turnover that disqualifies all genuine competitors. And well, that's just the beginning. The real damage happens through inside deals. A corrupt official will leak the bid prices of other competitors to their preferred vendor, allowing them to adjust their own bid just enough to win the contract. This is called bid rigging. Sometimes they might even form a cartel where a group of vendors secretly agree to take turns winning contracts, keeping the prices artificially high for everyone. They collude to submit cover bids, bids that are intentionally high or incomplete, just to create the illusion of a competitive process. The entire system of open competition gets turned into a private club where contracts are handed out to friends and partners, not based on merit, but on who gives the biggest kickback. Every large engineering project or factory has a warehouse, a storeroom filled with valuable spare parts. This inventory is a critical asset, but it's also a leaky bucket that is constantly being drained by corruption. It's a low-tech, high-profit scam that is, honestly, rampant. An engineer or a storekeeper can easily sign out a new motor or a set of expensive bearings, claiming they are needed for an urgent repair, but the part is never installed. Instead, it's sold on the black market for a fraction of the price. The machine that needed the repair gets a temporary shoddy fix, or its old part is left in place, increasing the risk of a breakdown. On the books, everything looks perfect. A new part was issued and installed. The inventory is updated, but it's all a lie. The methods are diverse and honestly quite clever. They will bill the company for items that were never installed. A contractor might submit an invoice for 100 high-grade bolts, but only use 50, pocketing the cost of the rest. They will create false shortages, hoarding certain critical spare parts to create an artificial emergency. Then they will miraculously find a supplier, usually their own associate, who can provide the part at a hugely inflated price. This creates a cycle of theft, inefficiency, and risk. The company loses money, the equipment's reliability suffers, and honest employees are left struggling to do their jobs with inadequate resources, all while a few corrupt individuals are profiting from the theft. Safety audits are not just a formality, they are a life-saving necessity. They're meant to find and fix hazards before they cause harm. But what happens when the audits themselves are a sham? Consider the case of a textile mill, where the ventilation system was found to be dangerously inadequate, filled with flammable cotton dust. A safety audit had been done just months earlier and had given the mill a clean chit. How? The auditor was paid to ignore the violations. He spent more time having tea with the manager than inspecting the machinery. This isn't just negligence, it's a criminal act that puts hundreds of lives at risk for the sake of a bribe. This kind of corruption is frighteningly common. We see auditors who simply copy-paste sections from a previous year's report without even visiting the site. They just change the date, sign their name, and collect their fee. They will deliberately use faulty or uncalibrated equipment to test things like noise levels or air quality, ensuring they get a passing result. They will ignore blatant safety violations like blocked fire exits, missing machine guards, or faulty electrical wiring in exchange for a favor or cash. This turns the entire concept of a safety audit into a dangerous piece of theater, a rubber stamping exercise that provides a false sense of security while the real dangers continue to grow, waiting for the right moment to turn into a tragedy. So, why does all of this matter? Why have we spent this time looking into these dark corners? Because these are not just isolated incidents of greed. This is a systemic problem that affects every single one of us. Every time a bribe is paid for a substandard part, the safety of the public is put on the line. Every time a contract is inflated, it's our nation's money that is being wasted. Money that could have built a school or a hospital. Every time an honest engineer is silenced, our country loses a little bit of its potential for genuine progress. This corruption slows down our development, makes our country less competitive, and most importantly, it can lead to catastrophic failures and loss of life. The solution is not simple, but it is not impossible. It requires a fundamental shift. We need stronger institutional checks and balances with real, painful consequences for those who are caught. We need a revolution in engineering ethics, starting from the classroom, teaching young engineers that their integrity is their most valuable asset. But most of all, we need transparency. The public and the media must act as watchdogs, asking the tough questions and demanding accountability. We need to create a culture where whistleblowers are protected and celebrated as heroes, not punished as traitors. We need to make the cost of corruption so high that it's no longer a profitable venture. Exposing these cracks is not a witch hunt, but a step toward restoring integrity in India's mechanical engineering sector. It's about cleaning the machine, not throwing it away. It's about honoring the thousands of honest engineers who work tirelessly every day. It's about ensuring that the bridges we build, the power we generate, and the factories we run are symbols of our strength and integrity, not our weakness and greed. The work is difficult, but we must begin. For our profession, for our safety, and for the future of our nation. Asan Hai.